Shalom, everybody, and welcome to Torah School, language arts class. I'll be Eric Allen. Yeah, I will be Eric Allen, your host. I will be your host. I will be the conductor of this conversation, and it is a conversation. Please feel free to log into the chat room and type your comments, your questions, and anything else that you feel is important that Yahweh leads you to type in. This is an open discussion, and we can learn together. You can teach me as I learn, because I'm up here learning as I stand up here and conduct this conversation. I do this so that we can all learn, especially this servant can learn. I'm not an expert in Hebrew, and I don't claim to be, but I think we could study the pictographs and get a better understanding of the Torah, and we can do this all together, and bear with your servant as he makes mistakes quite often, because we are all still learning. Alright, so shalom and welcome. Today we will be studying, as we've already discussed, as we've already had on screen. Today we will be discussing Debar, words, if you will. And let's go back and say our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to Yahshua and to the kingdom for which he stands, one nation, united under Yahweh, indivisible, with freedom and right ruling for all. Alright, and we'll sing a patriotic song as we always do at the beginning of school. Let's do that again here. Alright, all the fun stuff out of the way, let's get serious now. And dear Heavenly Father Yahweh, we do humbly thank you for your Sabbath. We thank you for the word that was given by Hector. We thank you for the messages we've had, the studies we've done, the food we've eaten. We especially thank you for giving us a day to rest, to be refreshed by your word, to be rejuvenated by you, to be strengthened by you, to put the world aside and just learn, study, relax, rest. We ask now as we open your Torah, Father Yahweh, that you do send your Spirit among us and help us to understand your Torah. Help us to understand the ancient Hebrew from the Torah and the Torah from the ancient Hebrew, and help us to better understand your ways. In Yahshua's name we ask, make it so. Hallelujah. Alright, and so it is. So, here we go. Again, without further ado, we are studying words. Debar. You see that there in the English, and then the transliteration of the Hebrew, then the modern Hebrew, the Dalet, and then the Beit, and then the Resh. Interesting, in the modern Hebrew, you can tell the difference between a Dalet and a Resh very easily. Not. But okay, that's the modern Hebrew. And you can see then the Paleo Hebrew, you have the Dalet, the Beit, and the Resh. And then we study the ancient Hebrew. To do that, we have to go to our scriptures and find out where the word is in the scriptures and what we're going to understand the scriptures from that word. And of course, alright, so we are in Debarim, words, if you will, and these are the words which Moshe spoke. That's why it's called words. This portion of Hebrew is called words. This book is called words. Yes, and we're going to study words. Literally, we're going to study words. The word, words. Okay, anyway, so here we go. Let's read a little bit here. And these are the words which Moshe spoke to all Israel beyond the Jordan, in the wilderness, in the desert plain, opposite Suf, between Paran and Tophel and Laban and Hatzeroth and Dizahab. It's 11 days' journey from Horeb by way of Mount Seir to Kadesh Barnea. And it came to be in the 40th year, in the 11th month, on the first day of the month that Moshe spoke to the children of Israel according to all Yahweh had commanded him concerning them, after he had smitten Sihon, sovereign of the Amorites, who dwelt in Heshbon, and Og, sovereign of Bashan, who dwelt at Ashtaroth in Edrei. Beyond the Jordan, in the land of Moab, Moshe undertook to declare this Torah, saying, Yahweh our Elohim spoke to us in Horeb, saying, You have dwelt long enough at this mountain. Turn and set out on your way and go to the mountains of the Amorites and to all the neighboring places in the desert plain, in the mountains, and the low country, and the Negev, and on the sea coast, and to the land of the Canaanites, and to Lebanon, as far as the great river, the river Euphrates. All right, so that is where we are. We're studying words. These are the words, or these be the words, if you will, in the King James English. These are the words which Moshe spoke to all Israel. And interesting, let's find out what that word words is. And let's study that word, words. Because these are the words. This entire document, Moshe is given the last words before he goes up to the mountain and is seen no more, and is buried in a secret place which nobody knows, so no one can dig up his grave. And then the children of Israel go beyond the Jordan. This is the final words which Moshe gives. In the Greek, they call it the second law, but it's not really a second law. It's actually just Moshe giving final instructions. He gives some things which was not, he gives elaboration on some things which were not quite clearly mentioned in Bamidbar or in Exodus, which is Shemot, names, or not even in Moikra. And he called, calling of Yahweh. So here we find some other things. We will find other things in here that are not mentioned in depth or in detail. And Moshe gives the detail, and he also paraphrases some things, and things are phrased differently because Moshe is speaking in his own words now. Before Yahweh told Moshe to say, and Moshe said exactly as Yahweh said. Now Moshe is just giving a recap of everything that happened to them, and giving them final instructions and giving them encouragement to go across the river and take the land which Yahweh has given them. But now, we see the word words over here. We can see it as Strong's 1697. The Strong's Hebrew word 1697 in the Strong's. So we use that as a reference. And Strong does give us some pretty good insight on that. You can see the Dalit, the Beit, and the Resh, Dabar, as we already said. And then he says it's from 1696. He says a word. By implication, a matter, a spoken, as spoken of, a thing, adverbally, a cause, an act, advice. And yeah, all the other words that this has been rendered in the King James. It's a pretty long list of how this word has been translated into the King James. And you can see that. I'll let you see that if you want to study that for a second. But that's what Strong's has to say about it. It means words. It means a word. Okay, so then we look up in from the Strong's, we go to the Ancient Hebrew Lexicon of the Bible, and we see here that the Ancient Hebrew Lexicon of the Bible is word number 2093, and in parentheses the N means it is a noun. There we go. See, it's a noun. But we start with just 2093 before we go to the parentheses in and looking at the noun. We'll look at this just as 2093 by itself. And Jeff Banner says it means order, word, an arrangement or placement of something, creating order. And he says it's from the Dalit Resh, parent root. And he says the Dalit Resh means order. So in order to understand the Dalit Beit Resh, let's look at the parent and see the Dalit Resh. And we see that here. And it says a circle. The pictograph, okay, so, that's that ah because of the question mark. But the pictograph Dalit, or Dal, is a door. And it represents moving back and forth. A door, you know, because you can move back and through a door. A door moves back and forth. A door moves up and down, actually, in the way the tent was designed. But the door moves, and it implies movement. And the Resh is the head of a man. So combined, we're looking at the fact that a man moves back and forth. A generation, you know, a generation of people is a complete revelation of the family. One dies, another's born, and family line. So the understanding of order is the continual cycle of life, the circle of life, the process of life and death, renewal and destruction. I'm just reading right at the screen with you. But so we can see a man moving along in an orderly way is implied by the Dalit Resh. And the root can also have the means of circling around something in a wide area or to cover a large area. Keep that in mind as we get to the second part of the study. But right now, the first part of the study, as far as words, it's just an order, a circle, a path for the man to take, a continuous cycle. In order is your Dalit Resh. And now we're going to add the Beit. So we have Dalit Beit Resh, and here we have word. Again, we're back to the word. It says an arrangement of words, a thing, something that is arranged, because everything is in order. You have the Dalit Resh, which means the cycle of life, an orderly, continuous path. Everything in order. But then we have the Beit in there, and we have putting things in order. As Shaul gets to talk about when he's talking about specifically, everyone's saying, well, you can't have the Spirit unless you speak in tongues. And they're still saying it today. And Paul addresses this to the Corinthians in chapter 14 of his letter to the Corinthians, possibly the second letter, even it's called 1 Corinthians chapter 14. And Paul talks about this in depth. He says, if I'm speaking to the wind, if I don't have sound, if I don't make sound that is understood, then they're not understanding me. I'm edifying myself, but I'm not building up the assembly. In other letters, Paul even goes on to say that everything has a distinct sound. A ram's horn has a distinct sound, and that's where you know what a ram's horn is. And so Paul is saying everything has to be in order. So here we have the symbols in order. We have a Dalit, and then we have the Resh, which means order. A door, and then a man moving. See, the door implies movement, and then we have the man, and the man's head, and we have the man moving in order. And we have order. But if we reverse them, if we don't have them in order, if we don't have these letters in order, then we have a Resh Dalit, we can have backwards, and it means spread out. Now the man is going through the door. The man is the focus, the man's the first one, man, then the door. Man goes through the door, and what he sees the floor all spread out nice and neat. It's a spreading. So we can see how order would be implying words also. When we put the symbols in order, we get our thoughts, and we convey our thoughts accurately in writing to someone who is looking at the writing, and they can see our thoughts in order. So the bait there puts everything in. A bait is a house, a floor plan, and it also implies within, or putting something, or going into something, or something coming into you. It's also prefix in the Hebrew has always been to mean the word in. That's how they, instead of writing the word in, it had the bait, and you saw the bait at the beginning of the word, and you knew the bait wasn't part of the word, so the bait must mean that we're in. Habashem, Yahweh. Blessed is he who comes in the name of Yahweh. So that's what the bait means. It means in. Everything's in order, and that makes words because we put our thoughts in order. We put our sounds in order, and we are understood because things are in order. We're not speaking gibberish. We're not speaking to the wind. We're not edifying ourselves by speaking things that cannot be understood. We're speaking in the language of the understanding, and people know what we are saying because everything is in order. We're making a distinct sound, and that's how we get words. And we could have used this slide before, but there we go. So we again reverse the order because in English we do things backwards. So we have the dal, the bait, and the resh. We will explain that. The man moving supplies a cycle, an order, and then the bait means that we're putting things in order. But what's so fascinating about this? That's where it gets interesting. Is what is so fascinating about the word words, Debarim, Dabar, means in order. So that's neat, but then if we go into the Septuagint, we will see that the word logos, the Greek word logos, was used to translate debar into the Greek. And we find the Greek word logos also in another verse. Let's look at this other verse here and let's read some more. Alright, so here we go. John 1:1. So let's read. In the beginning was the Word. So in the beginning was the Logos. Logos, Debar. In the beginning was Debar. And Debar was with Elohim. And Debar was like Elohim. Even Vines, a Strong's, actually not strong, but Vine is an expert in Greek. And Vine is an expert in Greek, so and he's recognized as the foremost expert in Greek. And in his thesis on this, he says the way the word was placed, not the word word, but the word for Elohim that they had, Kyrios, was placed in the sentence. It would be like him. It wasn't meaning that it was him. So in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with Elohim, and the Word was like Elohim. So, but the word, order, in order. That's what I thought was so fascinating. He was in the beginning with Elohim, and all came through him, and without him not even one came to be that came to be. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. So the Word, and here John is writing about the Word and using the word logos. Possibly his thought process was debar, because he is Hebrew and he is in that area. Of course he's very well educated because he does business, so he probably did know the Greek. So it's debatable whether he wrote this in the Greek or whether he wrote this in the Hebrew. That's not the issue here. But John knows that the Hebrew word means order. In the beginning was the Word, and he knows that it has everything in order. And John is Okay, now we're speaking English. Yeah, thank you. A comment was made on the chat room. Debar means to stop someone from doing something by law or by an official agreement. But yeah, that's interesting to note that. And it might have actually implication on what we're speaking of right now. But the Hebrew pronunciation, dabar, dalet, beit, resh, dabar, means words. And we saw how that brings order. And now Yeshua is bringing order. When we understand the word words, we can see, or the word word, we see that it has the circle of life. The dalet and the resh imply the circle of life, and then we have the beit, which puts everything in order. So I thought that was fascinating, and maybe I'm the only one that is fascinated by that. Okay, but moving on. All right. Now we're back to square one. Let's go back and read some more on Debarim. Shall we? Go back and read some more on Debarim. Because there's more to the story, as I always say. Alright, let's pick up here. Alright, let's see where we're going to pick up. Okay, so we'll just read the rest of it. Why not? Because we can't paraphrase. We'll pick up here in 17. Do not, 16. And I commanded your judges at the time, saying, when hearing between your brothers, judge righteously between a man and his brother, or the stranger who is with him. Do not show partiality in right ruling. Hear the small as well as the great. Do not be afraid of anyone's face, for the right ruling belongs to Elohim. And the case which is too hard for you, bring it to me, and I shall hear it. And I commanded you at the time all the words which you should do. And we set out from, actually the word commandment is debar. The word words is debar. We didn't go that far, but then we set out from Horeb, and went through all the great and awesome wilderness which you saw on the way to the mountain of the Amorites, as Yahweh our Elohim commanded us, and we came to Kadesh Barnea. And I said to you, you have come to the mountains of the Amorites, which Yahweh our Elohim is giving us. See, Yahweh your Elohim has set the land before you. Go up and possess it, as Yahweh Elohim of your fathers has spoken to you. Do not fear, nor be discouraged. And it's interesting that Hector was commanded to speak on this earlier. He was talking about tithing. He's talking about how hard it is, or the baptism of fire, how difficult things can be sometimes to keep the commands in the flesh, and how our flesh will always respond in finding it difficult. And here, the children of Israel looked at the giants, and in their flesh, they found it difficult, and they refused to do it. So, and here we're going to talk about going up a mountain, climbing up a hill. Okay, yeah, I use a because an e because I see what's going on. Maybe there's a difference between debar and dabar, and dabar. So I should have possibly put an a there to imply the sound. I use an e instead, and that's possibly what's causing on. Is that there may be two different words in the Hebrew even. So that's another comment was made. And that it explained to me my error. Yeah, it is davar or davar. So it's possibly an a would be a better transliteration there. But yeah, that would be davar is the Hebrew word that we're studying, not debar or debar or debar, or I'm not sure how the other one's pronounced. But yeah, so that's possibly a clarification that was made by the comments, and I stand corrected on that. So I should have used an A when I transliterated it. But going on, see, Hector is talking about when you're training for a track meet, you always want to run on a course that goes uphill, and it makes you work harder. And then when you're running on the flat course, you're used to working that hard, and when you work that hard on a flat surface, you run faster than everybody else. And he's talking about going up. You always want to choose the path that goes up. And here we're going to climb up. We're going to take over the mountains. And he also used the example of in World War II where someone was fighting hard to take a high place. They weren't taking a valley. They were taking a high place. And this applies. I thought that was interesting. But see, Yahweh your Elohim has set the land before you. Go up and possess it, as Yahweh Elohim your fathers has spoken to you. Do not fear, nor be discouraged. And all of you came near to me and said, let us send men before us, and let them search out the land for us, and bring back word to us of the way which we should go up, and of the cities into which we should come. And the matter was good in my eyes, so I took 12 of your men, 1 man from each tribe. And they turned and went up to the mountains, and came to the Wadi Eshcol, and spied it out. And they took some of the fruit of the land in their hands, and brought it down to us. And they brought back word to us, saying, the land which Yahweh our Elohim is giving us is good, but you would not go up, and rebelled against the mouth of Yahweh your Elohim, and grumbled in your tents, and said, because Yahweh was hating us, he has brought us out of the land of Mitzrayim to give us into the hand of the Amorites to destroy us. Where are we going to go? Our brothers have made our hearts melt, saying, the people are great and taller than we, and the cities are great and walled up to the heavens, and we saw the sons of Anakim too. The Anakim. We saw the sons of the Anakim there too. Then I said, have no dread or fear of them. Yahweh your Elohim, who is going before you, he does fight for you, according to all he did for you in Mitzrayim, before your eyes. And in the wilderness, where you saw how Yahweh your Elohim has borne you as a man bears his son, all the way that you went until you came to this place. Yet in this matter you are putting no trust in Yahweh your Elohim. Who is going before you? Yahweh your Elohim is going before you in the way you seek out a place for you, to pitch your tents, to show you the way you should go, in fire by night, and in the cloud by day. And Yahweh heard the voice of your words, and was wroth, and took an oath, saying, not one of these men of this evil generation shall see that good land on which he walked, because he followed Yahweh completely. Oh, wait a second. Okay, not one of you men of these evil generations shall see that good land of which I spoke to your fathers, except Caleb, son of Yepunah. He shall see it. And to him and his children I give the land in which he walked, because he followed Yahweh completely. And Yahweh was enraged with me for your sake, saying, you do not go in there either. Yahashua, son of Nun, who stands before you, he shall go in, strengthen him, for he shall cause Israel to inherit. And your little ones and your children, who you say are for a prey, whom today have no knowledge of good or evil, they are going in there, and to them I give it, and they are to possess it. But you turn and take your journey into the wilderness by way of the Sea of Reeds. Then you answered and said to me, now we're coming up to the point where we want to study. We have sinned against Yahweh. We ourselves are going up, and we shall fight as Yahweh our Elohim commanded. And when each of you had girded his battle gear, and when each of you had girded on his battle gear, you were ready to go up into the mountain. And Yahweh said to me, say to them, do not go up nor fight, for I am not in your midst, lest you be smitten before your enemies. So I spoke to you, but you would not listen, and rebelled against the mouth of Yahweh, and acted proudly, and went up into the mountain. Then the Amorites who dwelt in that mountain came out against you and chased you as bees do, and drove you back from Sinar to Hormah. Okay, and you returned and wept before Yahweh, but Yahweh would not listen to your voice, nor give ear to you. So you dwelt in Kadesh many days, according to the days that you dwelt. But the Amorites dwelt and drove you back as bees do. Notice the Strong's word number for bees. Is that the same word that we just studied? 1682? Okay, no, it's not. But it's close, right? Let's look at this word, 1682. Alright, so Strong's word 1682 is Deborah. In the sense of orderly motion, the bee from its systematic instincts. And it is rendered bee. So we have here our root again, Dalet Beis Resh, Dalet Beit Resh, Dal Beit Resh, which means order. But then we have Dal Beit Resh, hey. Hey, look at this, Dalet Beit Resh, hey. And it says a bee, a colony of ordered insects. We all know that, hey, a man standing with his arms raised. We didn't go into this into the modern pictures, but a hey, a man standing with arms raised says, look at this. So it's saying, look, it's in order. The bees, when they attack, they always attack in order, so you can look and see order when you see the bees, and that implies that's why the bees were given that name, because they always attack in order. They attack systematically. So they were given the name in order. That's why a fruit is called an orange in English, because it's the color orange. So we call it orange because it's the color orange. The bees are called orderly. As far as in the Hebrew language, they're called orderly because they attack in order, right? If you've ever been attacked by a swarm of bees, you know, as soon as one bee strikes you, they will all zoom in on that place that they struck, and they will come in order. Almost by instinct, whether it be histamine or whether they put enzyme in you in their venom, but they know and they attack, and they can see the enemy when one attacks. They all will zoom in on that one place that's attacked, and they swarm in order. They stay in close proximity to each other when they swarm. And also, as we studied earlier, as far as the Dalet Resh, a wide circle, when they're not attacking, when they're not swarming, they still stay. They cover a large, broad, circular pattern when they try to get the pollen from the flowers to make their food, to build their hives and to feed their queen and to support the colony. When they get the pollen from the flowers, when they're getting the nectar from the flowers, of course the pollen gets on their feet and they spread it from one flower to the next. But the nectar, which they're gathering, when they gather that nectar, they do it in an orderly motion. And they cover a wide circle. Again, the circle of the Dalet Resh is implied there. All right. All right, let's read Psalm 118 together here. Let's read Psalm 118, and another example of bees, actually, is this Psalm 118, showing how here the Amorites attacked them as bees do, and here David is, again, talking about how his enemies attack him as bees do. And we already seen that the bees, when you think of the insect of bees, you think of order. You think of so if someone's attacking as bees do, then we have someone attacking us in order. Someone attacking us in orderly motion, in pattern, and it's a constant wave of attack. As Joel mentions, they march on the city, they rush on the wall, and they just keep coming no matter how many. They don't break rank. He doesn't use the word bees. He doesn't say the attack as bees. He gives a better description in Yoel, when Yahweh is giving Yoel the prophecy. He's giving a better description, but instead of just saying attacking as bees. But that's exactly what David's talking about as his enemies attacking as bees. What Moshe was talking about when he said the Amorites came out and attacked as bees is Yoel, the same thing, even though he uses more words, when it says, no, they don't break rank. Even though you kill one, they just keep marching and they just keep coming. That's order. They're coming in order. They're coming in an orderly motion, and they just keep coming. And, yeah, so that's what, anyway, we'll just read Psalm 118 and get another example of bees. We see Psalm 118. Oh, give thanks to Yahweh, for he is good, because his kindness is everlasting. Let Israel now say, his kindness is everlasting. Let the house of Aharon now say, his kindness is everlasting. Let those who fear Yahweh now say, his kindness is everlasting. I called on Yah in distress. Yah answered me in a broad place. Yahweh is on my side. I do not fear what man does to me. Yahweh is for me Yahweh is for me among those helping me. Therefore I look upon those hating me. It is better to take refuge in Yahweh than to trust in man. It is better to take refuge in Yahweh than to trust in princes. All the Gentiles surrounded me. In the name of Yahweh I shall cut them off. They surrounded me, yea, they surrounded me. In the name of Yahweh I shall cut them off. They surrounded me like bees. They were extinguished like burning thorns. In the name of Yahweh I shall cut them off. Pushing the enemy pushed me to fall, but Yahweh helped me. Yah is my strength and song, and he has become my deliverance. The voice of rejoicing and deliverance is in the tent of the righteous. The right hand of Yahweh is doing mightily. All right, it continues to praise Yahweh, but the essence of what he's talking about, they attack me as bees. Of course, then he also used another acronym, because Yahweh was on my side, Yahweh was on his side, Yahweh fought for him, and although he was being attacked as bees, in an orderly motion, in a swarm, being surrounded, being attacked vigorously, and what happened to his enemies? They were attacking in an orderly motion, they were swarming on him, but they were burnt as dried thorns. When Yahweh steps in, Yahweh gave him the deliverance. That's not our essence is the bees were attacking in order. The letters are placed in order, written in order. The sounds are placed in order to make words. And Yahshua came to bring us back into his order, back into his fold, back into his family. And that's why he is called the Word of Yahweh, because he created order. He brings us in order. All right. All right. So yeah, there are different variations and forms, and I guess one of the variations and forms of Dalet Beit Resh, I didn't see that of course I didn't open up the Strong's in my book. If I looked in the book, I have a hard copy book, I would have seen all those different forms, and I could have studied that. Instead, I just stayed on the electronic version, which doesn't go that far, or in that depth, in that manner, or make it that easy to see. But, yeah, so that was interesting, the difference between Debar and Dabar. We could have gone that way also. But again, the voice, the sound, a distinct sound between Debar and Dabar. So that does apply in that sense, in that essence. If I don't get my sound in order, if I don't make the sounds that are clear, then my speech may be confusing. All right. And I could have said ancienthebrew.org because I go there quite frequently. But anyway, that was another suggestion made by the comments. But we're done here. And I do thank you for putting up with my error. All right, hallelujah. And shall we pray? Dear Heavenly Father Yahweh, we do thank you for giving us your Torah, for giving us your Sabbath, a day to rest, be rejuvenated, refreshed, to learn, to study, to put the world aside and just bask in your presence and learn from your hand. We thank you for letting us read your Torah. We thank you for giving us insight from your Torah and insight from your ancient Hebrew and helping us to better understand your ways. And now we ask, as we go about your 6 days, that we are to labor and do all our work. As we do our work, that we keep in mind your kingdom, and we work to build your kingdom as well as we work to supply for our families. Let us build your kingdom. May your kingdom come quickly, and may your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. In Yahshua's name we give you praise and thank you. We say hallelujah. All right, again, thank you all for joining us, and shalom, and everyone have a great week, and may Yahweh bless you.